Welcome to the channel, guys, and this is my Max Ender 3 Max Neo 3D printer, and it's something I got as a Christmas present, actually. Something that since I saw 3D printers I always wanted. Great, and they could help with all sorts of different things. It is currently printing a set of leg extenders for an enclosure, which I'll be doing in another video. The reason why I chose the Ender 3 Max Neo, there's a few reasons. One, the price. It's one of the cheaper, larger printers, and I wanted a large printer because just for some of the ideas I wanted to be able to print out, a larger base and a larger height is helpful. Like I say, the price is for a large printer is very reasonable. The way that Creality does things, they're more sort of open source. They don't do a lot of proprietary sort of parts. A lot of the parts you can get on AliExpress or Temu, a lot cheaper. And there's lots of upgrades for this particular printer, and they're not very expensive. And also quite a lot of people have recommended these printers as a starter printer for the beginner, so that's the reasons why I chose this particular printer above all the others in the market. Let's get this box open using my trusty multi-tool I got from Temu. It cost about £10 and I'd recommend getting one. Knives are very sharp and the tools are very useful. It's a very solid piece of engineering. So here we go. Let's see what's in the Creality Ender 2 Max Neo box. So as we unbox, you can see that it's in two pieces. The first top piece is very well boxed as well. First top piece has got in it a bag with instructions in it. The instructions aren't particularly great, to be fair. Got a lot more out of watching YouTube videos how to build these. This is some filament for testing, white 250 grams PLA, scraper tool for getting any of the models off the glass base, power lead. This is a bag of items like that's a card reader, some zip ties, some various tools in there, like this is a set of cutters, handy for cutting filament. Also in the bag is tools, spanners, Allen keys, screwdriver. It's nice of Creality to actually provide some tools for building printer and also maintaining it. So there's a card reader in there as well for putting various programs on. That's a spool to fit the filament rolls on. Inside here's the control panel for the 3D printer. Not touchscreen, but it's a track wheel, and there's a mount on the side. Putting it onto the side of the base. This is the filament spool holder. The filament spool goes in, just twists in, really simple. And that's it for the top layer. take that out of the way now. And the secondary layer, the main body of the box, there is the 3D printer itself. It consists of two parts. The first part is the gantry, as it's called, which is the vertical part. The second part is the bed, which is the horizontal part. So here it is out of the box, ready to be assembled. The gantry has got sort of wires that connect it to the actual bed itself, which makes it a bit not difficult but awkward to actually put together. The bed's got a glass bed itself. Both the bed and the hot end is heated, and it's just a case of putting the gantry into the bed. Now at the side there's two cutouts that the gantry sit in, and two threaded holes on either side that the bolts go into. There's some quite long bolts that need to go in there, and it really is just a case of sliding the gantry into those cutouts. Like I say, it can be a bit fiddly. The gantry has a bit of weight to it, and also with the cables connecting everything, there's only a certain sort of amount of movement that you can do. But it's not particularly difficult, and with the two holes on either side, it makes it nice and easy to sort of line up. So just sort of get it into that cutout and get those holes lined up, and then you can put the long bolts in. There we are. Just making sure that it's all level. Now it's a case of putting those long bolts in, and like I say, Creality provides you all the tools for building this. Now, as you put the long bolts in, you get to a point around about sort of 10 mil before they're fully home, and it all starts to tighten up. Now, at the time, I thought I'd cross-threaded it. I couldn't understand how I made cross-threaded it because it's quite far in already, but it started to get tighter and tighter. And really, you just have to sort of power through this, to be quite honest. It happens on all the Creality Max Neo printers. I think what they've done is fitted some maybe thread lock in there, so when you first sort of screw it in, it locks everything in. But like I say, just power through, and then it'll be all sort of nice. So after put the gantry in, then it's next is to put the controller on. Like I say, the bracket have at the back, all you do is sort of drop it into it. There's three mounts on the side of the bracket. One side there's some Allen key bolts, and on the other side are some sort of mounting sort of things. I don't know how to describe them, but you have them lined up horizontally, so you can slide it all into the side of the base, because there's grooves down each side of the base, and then you spin them round so they're vertical and locked in on the groove. Now this can be a bit of a challenge, so slide it in, and then what I used one of the very thin Allen keys that they provided to sort of get behind the bolt and to push that mounting bracket thing into a vertical position, so it's sort of stuck in the actual groove, and then tightened everything up. Because it's sat in grooves, you can actually move it backwards and forwards. Now there's a cable as well to connect to the control panel, and it's keyed so you can't put it in the wrong way. Plug that in and drop the control panel in, and just slide it in, it clips in. Really simple. Now it did take a little bit of a struggle getting those three mounting points in. Just persevere with it, they will go in eventually. Make sure you twist them from the horizontal into the vertical position before you actually tighten everything up. So the next part of this build will be plugging the motors in. So each side has got 2 motors. Again, it's a keyed plug, and it's just a case of just plugging them in. It's really simple. One on either side, don't forget. On to the next part of the build, and that's putting the filament holder on. Now you have to use a bit of brute force on this. There's a groove at the top that sort of slides in, and then it's like a key it slides into the middle groove. Just really push it down to go over the clip over the top, and it locks in. But like I say, it needs a bit of brute force to get that in place. The spool holder on the side can actually go in the forward position or into the reverse position. Personally, I think the forward position is better because the way it lines up to the extruder has a better run than in the rear position. So I quite like to have it in the forward position. You can actually take that spool holder off and use something like a filament dryer box to feed the PLA into whichever filament you're using into the extruder. At the moment I'm going to use the standard mount, so I'm a bit happier with the way things go together on the 3D printer. And the last thing you need to worry about is there is a little sort of switch at the back for the power supply. It selects whether it needs to be 230 or 110. I believe all the Creality printers are set up out of the factory at 230 volts for UK and EU, but if you're in the USA, you want it to be 110. Just have a look at that anyway and just make sure it's set to the correct position for your country, and then really that's it, it's built. Once it's built, you need to go through a whole load of basic checks, and I'll go through that in my next video to make sure everything is lined up correctly before you start printing. You'll notice that at the top, when you're initially feeding your filament in, first of all do a cut on the end of the filament, a 45-degree angle, so it's got a point on the end. Feed it first through the filament run sensor and then into the extruder. The way you feed it into the extruder, you've got a little sort of lever. You pull the lever towards you if you're at the front, and then just push the filament through the Bowden tube until you hit the end and you feel you can't push it any further, and the filament will be at the hot end then, ready for printing. That's one thing I did struggle with because I didn't notice the filament run out sensor, and I went straight to the extruder, and then when I powered it up it kept saying that it couldn't sense any filament, so watch out for that on the Max Neo. I did look on a few YouTube videos, but didn't tell me anything about the filament run out sensor. It's only when I had another look and found it, that's when I realised what the problem was. So on the Ender Max Neo, it's quite a slow printer, but the good thing about it is there's lots of upgrades that you can do. It's relatively cheaply priced for a large 3D printer, and there are some of the upgrades that I've got lined up for it, such as a sprite extruder and a magnetic bed and silicon bed mounts and all sorts of other stuff as well, but that'll be done once I'm quite happy with the 3D printing. The first thing I will be doing is building an enclosure for it, because it's going to live in the workshop and I don't want it to be dusty or anything like that, and also it's good to regulate the temperature. Hope you enjoyed that, guys. Hope you subscribe, like, and watch out for the next videos.